Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
God damn it, it's a whole fucking platoon dropping like flies. What the hell are you staring at?
Do you have any idea what it's like out there? Do you? Well, I'm fighting this thing, man. It's like kick ass who kiss ass. And I'm busting heads. It's the only way to win this fucking war.
Welcome to the Pint Podcast, and here in Pintland, it's not January, it's Vandanuary. So far, we've done 1994's Time Cop, and today we're going to see how 1992's Universal Soldier stacks up to it. My name is Lloyd.
I'm John.
And I'm Gary.
Week 2 of Vandanuary, which has preempted January here in the Pint world. We don't do January, we do Vandanuary. So last week we did, it almost seems like, I don't know if this wasn't on purpose, but Time Cop is 1994, Universal Soldier is 1992. So we're not only going backwards through his films, but we're also kind of we're starting off with his two, I guess you could say, sci-fi concept movies, right? Like Time Cop obviously is sci-fi. This one is kind of sci-fi. In the last episode, we joked that essentially Time Cop is a comic book movie, because of, it was a Dark Horse comic. This is kind of a zombie movie if you really think about it, right? I mean, not a horror movie, but it's a zombie movie. Real quick before we start, Gary, you're here today.
Oh no.
Do you have any level of Van Damme fandom? Van fandom, do you have any?
Fandom.
Other than the fact that he's just a part of nostalgia of the 1990s, an action hero, but I've never really sought out Van Damme movies because of him.
Okay.
You're in the same realm as me, Gary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
He exists.
Okay. Van Damme versus Steven Seagal.
Van Damme.
Van Damme. Okay. All right. Yeah. Steven Seagal's a shit human being too.
He's shit.
Van Damme probably has done some dumb things too, but Steven Seagal is just pure shit. All right. Let's talk about Universal Soldier. Came out on July 10th of 1992. Filmed between August and October of 1991. Filmed all over Arizona. Towns with the names such as Clarkdale, not Clarksdale. This isn't the Monkees.
The Last Train to Clarksdale.
The Last Train to Clarkdale. Prescott and Verde Valley. That's Green Valley in Spanish. Directed by Roland Emmerich. This guy was fucking big back in the day. He directed ID4, a movie I don't like, Independence Day. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie, one of the biggest 1990s blockbusters out there. He also directed, times have gotten rough, though. His last film was, I have not seen it, but it was the critically and pretty much, might be a good Triple T episode, universally panned Moonfall from last year.
Moonfall,
which I've
not even sure I've heard of it.
Oh, it came out last year, and I a few of the podcasts I listened to did it. I'm fairly certain So Wizard did it. And nobody was a fan.
Wow. Well, this guy is pretty much the king of the blockbuster movie.
Oh, yeah. Godzilla. Well, we'll get to his writing partner, Dean Devlin, in a minute. But those two guys together in the 90s, they just smoked the world with some big fucking budget movies. Written by a few guys here, a guy named Richard Rothstein, probably best known for a TV film, not the TV show, but in the late 80s, there was a TV film called Bates Motel.
That was good.
Oh, you've seen? Is that JCVD?
No, never mind. No, Bates Motel. I'm thinking of the Netflix or whatever that show was.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It was not. See,
Not that one.
See, if you were the audience, you would have just failed because I said not the TV show, the
Not the TV
1987
show. Yeah.
TV movie. I think it actually starred Jason Bateman.
You know what? As soon as I heard Bates Motel, everything else you said just went out the window.
That's
I
fine.
love that show.
That's fine. Most people don't listen to me. Christopher Leach. There was a show on the HBO when I was a
Yeah, he
younger
does
guy.
Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
No, that's Robin Leach.
Oh, wrong Leach. Damn it.
Caviar Dreams and Champagne Wishes. That fucking guy. I remember that. Back in the 80s, there was a show I could never watch on HBO called The Hitchhiker. I think it had like a sexy element to it.
I watched that. I was a little older. I
night.
got to watch it.
Yeah, you were a lot older. But anyways, he wrote 7 episodes of that. And then the third guy that came in and worked on this script is Dean Devlin, who went on, along with Roland Emmerich, to make films such as Stargate and Godzilla. They wrote them together. They produced them. Again, in the 90s, those guys were on a tear. A couple of just real quick trivia bits. Andrew Davis, who was the director of The Fugitive and Under Siege with the aforementioned Steven Seagal, was the original director that was hired to direct this, and he left the project. This is the last film that was ever recorded, the dialogue and the sound recorded in a format called CDS, which was a original digital sound recording technique. Yeah. After this, DTS, which we're probably all familiar with. Yeah. The year after this, DTS became a thing. So this is the last movie to use CDS. I don't have a great ear. I wouldn't notice the difference, but it's a cool trivia fact. Lloyd, let's get into the cast. Now we know Jean-Claude Van Damme's in it, but who else is in it?
Shabuya roll call.
Well, I'll start with Jean-Claude as Luke Devereaux / GR44. Did any of you figure out what the GR stands for? Or am I just an idiot? And that doesn't seem relevant in any way to this group. But anyway, a Belgian actor, martial artist, film fight choreographer. He was a Mr. Belgium bodybuilder at one point.
No.
Yeah, he got into that for a little bit. But the muscles from Brussels, you know who he is. Next, we have Dolph Lundgren as Andrew Scott / GR13. Good number. My favorite number there. Swedish actor. We've talked about Dolph before, right?
Yeah. Great.
It's amazing. Martial artist, chemical engineering degree from some Institute of Technology.
Massachusetts.
No, well, not that one. This was the KTH Royal Institute of Technology.
Oh, I thought he also
somewhere
had a degree
overseas.
I thought he had a degree from MIT too.
He doesn't. I did a little more research into that. So he's got the master's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Sydney.
Good day, Mike.
And he received a Fulbright scholarship to MIT. So what the Fulbright scholarship is, it's basically a cultural integration program, kind of like the swapping of students.
Okay.
And he bailed on that after 2 weeks to pursue acting.
Hey.
Yeah, so he didn't finish. He did it just to get in, I think. Also had a relationship with Grace Jones and a martial artist himself.
Yeah. Jesus. Another guy with who just kind of like I guess books and covers, right? You look at a guy like Dolph Lundgren and you just kind of think giant muscle head, and he's smarter than everybody you know.
Yeah, smarter than fuck. Then we have Ali Walker as Veronica Roberts. She's cute. I'm sorry to lead with that, but I don't go for a lot of blondes, but I think she's really cute. I like her.
Yeah, they gave her in this movie the most nonsensical smoking habit that it seems to serve no fucking purpose other than just to have her throw a cigarette in her mouth every once in a while. But it's
all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
So something you may not know about her, which kind of mirrors Dolph Lundgren. She attended the University of California, where she earned a degree in biochemistry. Worked as a researcher on a genetic engineering project while preparing for medical school at UCLA.
Interesting. I didn't know
then
that.
got bit by the acting bug.
She was really good. So a lot of times I judge people by how they can play a character that you fucking hate. And she was on Sons of Anarchy. Did you watch that?
Oh, I love that show. Yeah, she was
the crooked ATF agent that was fucking with them. And sorry to spoil, a 15-year-old show. But when they finally kill her, it was one of the most satisfying moments in TV history. Gary, were you a fan of the show?
Never watched it.
Never watched it. Okay, well, spoiler alert. If you ever start watching it and you see Ali Walker show up, they kill her.
Good show. I mean, everyone gets killed in that show.
Yeah, essentially, if you start that show, Gary, everybody will die before the end of the show.
It's really it's no surprise. Also I guess she started off in Santa Barbara soap opera. She was in When the Bow Breaks, Profiler, other shows like that from the 90s. Then you got Ed Ross as Colonel Perry. I recognize the guy, but I never know who he is.
So you didn't do the Lethal Weapon episode with us on Patreon, but he was in one scene in Lethal Weapon. He plays like a low-level criminal that's dealing with the main villains of the film. He's a character actor. He's one of those guys that you just know him by his face. You might not know he's Ed Ross, but or O Ross, whatever it is, but you just go, oh, I know that guy. Exactly.
I guess he played Itchy in Dick Tracy. He was Lieutenant Touchdown in Full Metal Jacket. Also, this guy was a minor league baseball player and a Golden Glove boxer.
Really?
Yeah.
Gary, did you notice about a minute ago in one sentence time, Lloyd said Itchy and Dick in the same sentence?
Dick, I did say it.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my hands are right up here, so
they're right up there. I'm not saying you've got an itchy dick. I'm just saying you said itchy dick.
Sure did. I'm gonna bump this guy up because this guy appears after everyone else in the credits. The final credit before the movie starts. Jerry Orbach as Dr. Gregor. Basically, I mean he passed away a long time ago, but one of the last bona fide leading men of Broadway musicals and very versatile, stage and film actor. Nominated for multiple Tony Awards. He won a Tony for playing Chuck Baxter in Promises. Never heard of it, but figured I'd shout that out. Is in Dirty Dancing, and obviously Detective Lenny Briscoe in Law and Order. Bum bum. Or no, I did that wrong. That was a People's Court.
Gary, give us the Law and Order noise, Gary.
Cha-chung.
Yeah, there you go. Cha-chung is better than what I did for sure.
I don't think yours was the People's Court either. The People's Court is
no, mine was People's Court. Bum 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 bum.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, totally wrong.
It's got that scratchy guitar. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So that's Jerry Orbach. By the way, Jerry Orbach put Baby in the Corner. If you didn't know, from you said Dirty Dancing, but he's the guy that actually put her in the corner. Who else we have?
I got a few more. I'll do them real quick though. Tico Wells as Garth. Also in the Cosby Show, 227, Beverly Hills 90210. Then I guess this was the big guy, the big soldier, Ralph Moeller, as GR76. Basically another, competitive bodybuilder, really big dude.
Great friends with Schwarzenegger in a bunch of movies. He's in Beer Fest, and in the late 90s, there was a syndicated Conan the Barbarian show.
Yeah.
And he played Conan the Barbarian in that show.
You totally see that. Then Robert Trebor as the motel owner, the creepy dude.
Do you know what the best part about Robert Trebor is? Did you look this up, or do you notice it by looking at it?
Well, I know the name, the word of what's going on here is anadrome, which I didn't know. So everyone knows what a palindrome is a word spelled the same forward and backwards.
Yep.
Well, Robert Trebor's last name is the opposite of his first name. So
yeah. It's Robert spelled backwards.
It's Robert spelled backwards. Basically, I guess from what I've seen him in is Salmonius on that Hercules show and Xena, Princess Warrior.
Yeah, he's another character actor. I immediately recognized him, but from where I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. And last but not least, Tom Tiny Lister Jr. as GR55.
I read this factoid and I thought it was hilarious. Was when you see the first lineup, when the Universal Soldiers are coming off of the truck and they're being checked in by the doctor, all the Universal Soldiers, they wear an eyepiece over their eye. They're all on the left side, except for Tiny Lister's is on the right. And I noticed it, but I didn't think anything of it. And then I was reading trivia, and because Tiny Lister has that toed-in eye,
he's got that
they had to move it because his other eye is the back. So
that would have been so distracting.
But you would have thought maybe they would have just changed everybody's to look the same, but they're just like, they really stick them out. They're like, oh, you got a dead eye. All right, we're gonna put yours on the other side to draw attention to it.
They didn't do enough research.
So Gary, before we get into the bulk of the movie, I'm going to jump to you real quick. What's the Universal Soldier program? What's going on here?
The Universal Soldier program bumper sticker is reanimating dead soldiers to be essentially disposable warriors for the United States military.
And what are some of the, I guess, strengths and or weaknesses or features of the Universal Soldiers?
Well, they are biologically enhanced so that they're injected with a serum that increases muscle performance so they can run faster, punch harder, shoot better than a typical human being.
Captain America style.
But they're at the cost of what would you say? Their metabolism is sped up to the point where they essentially run hot and that they need to be kept cold after a mission.
Right.
At which point they could heal faster and other sorts of stuff as well.
This movie has some severely ridiculous scenes of people laying in bags of ice, like in trunks of cars, in bathtubs, because they overheat and then they can't function anymore. All right, Manster, let's start us off in this movie. What time period and where are we when the movie starts off?
So when the movie starts, we are in 1969, Vietnam. You basically find out that Scott, the Dolph Lundgren character, has gone crazy, basically killed all his troops, and is just insane.
He's got a necklace made of what, Gary?
Ears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which is
can't hear you.
He's mocking everybody. Which is I've seen. Well, look, I'm not a big military or war expert. But like I've seen other movies where this is a thing. I can only imagine that this is derived from real stuff that's happened. Yeah. There's a movie called Dead Presidents that I'm a fan of, and one of the characters starts off with a necklace of ears, and then they find out he's carrying a head in one of his gear bags, and so so crazy shit.
Did Daryl Dixon do that in the beginning in the Walking Dead show?
Well, I don't know. Maybe.
I think he was collecting ears. Yeah.
So we find out Andrew Scott has gone bonkers. He's the sergeant, and then we meet a private Luke Devereaux. They had to rewrite the character to make him a French Cajun because
he doesn't know how to drop his accent like Dolph Lundgren does.
Dolph Lundgren does a pretty good job. I mean, you could tell in some scenes, like there's a scene towards the end in the grocery store where Dolph Lundgren kind of has a monologue, and he's doing crazy really well, but you could kind of tell he's really straining to not say things with a Swedish accent. He's at one point, he's like, you can kiss him, you could kill him, fuck them all, something like that. And you could hear him really trying not to. But Van Damme is just like, I'm not even going to try.
That's right. So we're going to make up some bullshit backstory that his ancestors are French.
Yeah, they're like, you know what?
Somehow that makes sense.
They pointed it out immediately in the movie when Allie is in the car with him, and she's like, so why do you have that accent? It's like literally, point it right out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
they go out of their way to tell you.
Yeah, Cajun French is not like proper French in any form. It's essentially mumble.
Yeah, it would be like Justin Wilson, the Cajun cook from like the 80s. Remember him? He's like, oh boy, I gotta be real good at etouffee. It wouldn't be the version we get in this, but Andrew Scott's going nuts, and he's got a couple of hostages, a Vietnamese couple. And Van Damme's like, Sarge, leave him alone. Let's go home. By the way, I was reading in the trivia, the whole Vietnam set was on a golf course in Arizona. They dressed up to look like Vietnam. I thought that was pretty cool because it was pretty good.
That was one of the things that I noticed was like the budget was spent elsewhere in the movie. It did look good, but when I was watching the Vietnam scene, I definitely saw the set over the rest of the movie, and it just stood out to me. It was like almost like too clean filmed. I'm sure when you guys go to the budget at the end, it was like there was definitely, you could tell where they were spending money and where they weren't.
Did you see a golf cart in the back, Gary, and like a Pepsi machine?
No, but it felt artificial. It didn't feel as ingrained as the scenes once we're brought to the present day, it just didn't feel, rounded as much.
All right.
Yeah, and it was very dark in those scenes as well. So they don't want you to see a lot of the stuff.
Oh yeah, totally. You're right. Yeah. You're right. So Devereaux tells Scott, like, let's go. We're gonna go. And Scott's just like, I'm not having this. And he tells him, you're my private. You do what I say. Shoot.
Prove your loyalty.
Show your loyalty and shoot these traitors in the head. And and Van Damme's character is like, no, I'm not fucking shooting these people. So of course, as a good bad guy would do, he shoots the I think the woman or the man in the head. Shoots the man in the head. The woman's screaming.
Yeah.
They start fighting. She gets up. She runs away. Now, Gary, this must have driven you nuts as a guy, not only a G.I. Joe guy, but like a guy that truly does. I give you full respect. You know a lot about military and hardware. I'm always impressed when I listen to your show when you kind of parallel the G.I. Joe stuff to real world stuff. But this scene is one of the many scenes of the varying time delay grenades that happen in this movie. Because she runs away. He tosses a grenade. It hits the ground next to her, blows her up, and she's dead. They continue to fight, and essentially they end up killing each other. Like, I think he shoots.
He stabs him with the bayonet.
Devereaux stabs him with the bayonet, and then Scott shoots him in the heart, right?
Right.
So they both go down.
Devereaux's falling down. He's shooting more into Scott.
Yeah.
Right. So we get the scene where they both drop. And don't worry, Gary, we will get back to the grenades later on because I want to talk about the grenades.
We sure will.
So they both go down, and we see like the next day, the military comes in and like, what happened here? And one of the guys in a very clandestine manner calls someone on the CB or over the radio and says, "Look, we got a couple of candidates." Tells the medics, put these guys on ice, and then we get a scene real quick where we kind of see them, or at least Devereaux being like worked on, and he dies. All right, now we jump 25 years ahead. Now, by the way, this movie came out in 1992, but it takes place in 1994 because 25 years from 69 is 1994. So it's a couple years ahead. We find out that at the Hoover Dam, there is a terrorist activity happening. There are some masked bad guys. They have a bunch of people held hostage. And we meet the Ali Walker character, who is a news reporter who goes there to cover it. She ends up getting fired because she's got this attitude of, kind of like, not I'm the star, but like, don't worry about it. I'll get there. And she's obviously kind of gives her producers a lot of shit. So they shit can her.
Yeah, right. She gets the stories, which is what they really need, but they shit can her.
Right. So who's going to come in and save the day? All of a sudden, this gigantic fucking, what is this, Gary? A troop personnel carrier? It's like a mobile base. This thing is a big truck comes in.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a cross between Optimus Prime and Goliath. And when it pulls up, I like how every time, and the first time you see it, it pulls up and the trailer expands out to become the command center. And they do that every time it parks.
Yeah.
To like get out the time.
Yeah.
But it comes in, and that's the housing the Universal Soldier program.
So off come these Universal Soldiers, and right off the bat, we get a couple of no names, as they're checking in for their mission. But who do we see, Gary? Who's in line? Who's part of the Universal Soldier program?
Devereaux and then Scott.
Now, wouldn't you think that if you were doing this program, and let's say they don't ever say it, but I'm assuming this is the only squadron. Lloyd, I'm going to ask you this. This is the only squadron, I'm assuming. But wouldn't you think it would be a bad idea to put two guys that you could clearly see killed each other on the same team, even though we know that they get their minds wiped?
Especially when their memories are kind of like one of their biggest like downfalls.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Do they know that yet? They kind of talk a few times about how they're rushing into this. Like, there's concern. So we do get a pretty cool.
I have a question, I guess, before we move on. I think it's during this scene where what's that guy's name? The lieutenant there. Anyway,
Ed Ross.
Yeah, Ed Ross. Yeah, isn't it around here where he says we've had three missions? Yes,
he does mention they've had successful runs.
Three, right? But it's 25 years. I don't understand the timing.
I thought the same thing. I thought, were these guys like did the training and physical build-up take this long?
No.
Gary, what do you think? You think it was just...
No.
Well, 25 years to have a successful soldier reanimation project. you think of the science behind that. How many times do you think they would call in a team like this for a special mission? The 3 missions can happen over a year, 2 years, or is this something where they're going to be using them on a regular basis? Let's say the real world equivalent, SEAL Team 6. SEAL, how many missions do you think SEAL Team 6 does a year? Something to that effect. To reanimate a human being, the science on that had to take a while. The budget on that had to be huge. And they do mention that in the movie that, do you think this is an officially sanctioned program?
Yeah.
But it is, like, to go back to your point where you have 2 guys that clearly killed each other. It's, do you think the people on that mission at the Hoover Dam know what went down in Vietnam in 1969? Unless they've read their dossiers, probably not. I mean, it's probably mired in redactions and red tape.
In the original script, and they did not keep it in the movie because I think I read if I remember correctly, I read they wanted to make the people behind the Universal Soldier program a little more sympathetic, because there's also something that happens at the end I'll tell you about. But in the original script, you find out that they hired these terrorists to do this because they wanted to throw them out into action again, to show like kind of like the public as like a coming out party. Like, these guys exist. These guys are the ultimate, and the terrorists actually kill people, even in that scenario. But the U.S. government's paying for it. But then they said, now we gotta, because eventually these people are going to be victims. So we got to make it so that they're a little bit more on the up and up.
Yeah.
So one thing I read real quick,
I just don't know how you could maintain funding for something that has 3 successful missions in 25 years.
Yeah. Well,
Surprised what the military spends money on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But they can't figure out how to get any better video quality than this grainy ass video that they can't tell one thing from another.
Yeah, very, very 1991 effects, very 1992 effects. When you start seeing through the Universal Soldiers eyepieces and stuff, it's not necessarily super top notch. Speaking of their equipment, a lot of their, I was reading this as well. A lot of their, I almost said the word accoutrements. And boy, that would be a bad word for such a tough ass military looking outfit. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the equipment that they have, their holsters, their belts and everything were made by a company that I'm sure Gary probably has a fucking credit line with. I'm just kidding, Gary. Eagle Industries. Eagle Industries, which I guess is I didn't know about, but I was reading up on them. They supply a lot of stuff to the military and a lot of stuff to like from anywhere, survivalists, anywhere from campers to to people that are probably like bounty hunters and stuff. Almost all the stuff in the uniform was supplied by that company. So they go and they do their first mission. We get some cool stuff. They do some like fast roping kind of down the Hoover Dam. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that vertical scaling, that running down. That's sweet.
And they infiltrate and they take care of these bad guys.
Did you catch the line where they're in the Vietnam era helicopter and they drop them off at the lake for them to swim to the Hoover Dam? Did you catch that they swam like 1.5 miles in 4 minutes?
Yeah.
I looked it up. The world record for swimming for a mile is 14 minutes.
Yep. And they're loaded down with like tons of equipment.
Do I have to say it again to you fucking guys? These guys are universal soldiers.
Yeah. They're unisols.
They're unisols. They have Captain America serum running through their fucking veins times 100.
They look like motorboats swimming.
They do. Yeah, they're like a cartoon.
Yeah.
You're right. I forgot they did. They had to swim the rest of the way.
And they weren't even wet when they got there. Oh, actually, Dolph Lundgren's hair was a little wet.
Yeah, Dolph Lundgren looked like Ralph Wiggum.
Yeah. He had that hairstyle, exactly.
My cat's breath smells like cat food. So their mission success, they take care of the bad guys. But Lloyd, what happens when all of a sudden Van Damme sees a couple of the hostages? What happens to him?
Yeah, so they've already contained the whole situation, right? They've eliminated the bad guys, and then he just sees a Vietnamese couple against the wall in the hallway, and it triggers his memory of the Vietnamese couple in Vietnam, and then he he starts putting some stuff together. He looks behind him and he sees Scott behind him, and he puts it all together. By the way, that couple were the same actors.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right, Gary. So let's you move us into the section here where what happens with the what's the Ally Walker's character name again, Lloyd? What's
Veronica Roberts?
Veronica. How do we get involved with the Veronica character? Why do the Unisols go after her?
Well, Veronica is trying to get back in good with CNA, the news company like CNN. And so she takes her cameraman, which why would the cameraman be with her?
Right.
Because he's still employed by CNA.
Yeah, he didn't get fired.
Yeah. Why would you? Yeah, I don't know. Apparently he's willing to risk his job for her.
He wants to fuck her, Gary. Just say it out loud. He wants to fuck her.
Clearly.
Yeah, she was primed for 1994.
Yeah.
So, or 92. Driving to the transport plane to get a look at where these the Unisols come from. So she finds a Unisol in essentially a mobile ice tub, and she starts taking pictures as the rest of the Unisol program is reconditioning the soldiers that were not injured in the combat. And they go after her because she knows too much.
She knows too much. So they say, we got to find her. And they send Scott after her, right?
Well, they send Scott and Devereaux and I forget which GR soldier, but they send 3 of them after her in a Chevy Blazer, which would be an M1009. And, and they chase her in her little Ford LTD station wagon, which flips over because it's an action movie, and for no reason it's going to flip over.
Yeah.
And Van Damme rescues her from the wreck or takes her out. And then that's when Scott, I can't remember, did Scott get the order to kill, or were they not? They weren't ordered to kill yet.
No, he just
Not
did
yet.
it. Yeah.
He killed the cameraman.
Kills the cameraman. And that's where Devereaux really cements the fact that, oh, fuck, this is the guy. Like, I know this guy. He's not a good guy.
Yeah.
So this is like this is what sets up the majority of this movie is Devereaux and Veronica are now on the run from the Universal Soldier program. His memories are slowly coming back, but bad news. Who else's memories are coming back, Lloyd?
Oh, well, Scott's memories are coming back.
Yeah, and he likes killing.
Actually, I don't know. I kind of get the feeling he had his memories. Maybe he was sort of suppressing them or whatever, but he kind of seems like he knows what's going on all the time.
He definitely in the beginning has like a very menacing look to him, but
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if they were just trying to like red herring, like, you know.
Yeah, it could be.
But everything kind of happens in this day, and it becomes let's chase after the Devereaux character and get him back. And we'll just jump through the movie and go through some of the highlights of these scenes. Well, one of them being when they go to the motel, right? When they go to the kind of gas station-y motel, right? Or they go to motel first, right?
What was that car they were in, that white and yellow car?
Buick 56.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
I knew Gary would know that. Why did I say I don't know? I should have let him just say it. 56 Buick, Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they get this car, they go, there's a humorous scene at a gas station before the Unisols find them there where he knows there's a tracker on him, and
Was that the motel was first?
What was first, the motel or the gas station?
Yeah, I think the motel.
Motel was first because that's where they get the car.
Okay, so let's go to the motel first. Great scene where they're in the motel and they get to deal with Robert Trevor, and he gives them a room, and eventually the Unisols find them at the motel, start basically Kool-Aiding through the walls, but in one of the greatest scenes ever, the way they evade
the walls with no studs.
Yeah, the walls with no studs. These guys just breaking in, shooting everything left and right. And of course, because it's a 90s movie, this happens in every fucking movie ever. But when someone in a motel ends up going through a wall into the next room, there's always a couple fucking. There's always a couple fucking. In every motel on Earth, there's at least one couple fucking. And if you get thrown through a wall in a motel, you're going to land in the room where the couple are fucking. So they end up in the room with the couple fucking, and then the Unisols come in and they kind of do a quick inspection, don't see them, and leave. And then we see like kind of the gun come up from under the covers, and Van Damme's pointing the gun at the guy, and all I could think is that so what it was they hid somehow under the covers, and these incredible fighting machines couldn't fucking detect. Don't notice it.
Two full grown human beings under covers.
Undercover. And then the second worst part, Gary, real quick, I want to say is they had to obviously hide in the wet spot. Like there's no, I would have loved it even more if Van Damme came out and he had a load like on his fucking cheek.
Right.
And he's like, what is this? Oh,
is this normal?
Oh, this is sticky. Gary, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, but the other thing too was at this point, Van Damme has a tracker on him, and the scientist in the Unisol command center was able to track him from room to room.
Right.
Yeah.
So he would have been able to say, "Hey, he's in that room with the couple that was just fucking on the wet spot."
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't get it.
Nope.
So they get away from them there. And then they end up at a gas station with this really weird little, he's not a valet. He tells you that. And he tells her, look, I obviously have a tracker on me. And this is our one chance in the movie. We got to have every movie so far. We had it in the last one, Manster. We got to get some Van Damme ass.
You got to get some VDA in there.
VDA. So Van Damme goes into the gas station, office, shuts the door, and then gives her his essentially K-bar or whatever, and says, I got a tracker on me, find it and cut it out.
Buck naked,
and she's obviously mesmerized by his penis, because at one point he's like, he's just the weirdest thing. He says, "Is that normal?" And she's like, "Oh, what do you mean? Is it normal? Does it have a fist for a head instead of a fucking penis head? What do you mean by that?"
Like, what should I look for? Something hard.
Yeah. So she determines, Gary, where is it? It's on
the calf of a leg.
Yeah. So she gets under and behind, and she's going to try to cut in, and she just can't do it. And then he does this move where he bends over and looks through his legs.
Himself in half.
Yeah. He folds himself in half and looks at her through his legs and is like, "Give me the knife. I will do it." By the way, in this movie, in the last movie, in Time Cop, we joked on the episode, Lloyd, that the Van Damme character in that was just dad jokes all day long.
Yeah.
In this one, he's no personality for the first hour of the movie, because he's supposed to be this wiped out thing, and he eventually starts to kind of get a little bit more personality, but he's very blank faced in this, more so than in most movies that you'll see him in. He cuts the tracker out, but again, right, all of a sudden, Gary, the Unisol show up again, right,
and they start looking for him based on the tracker, which they don't know has been removed. So once they discover that, and I think there's a little bit of a firefight there, an explosion.
Well, they set up an explosion, right, Lloyd?
Yeah, they set it up
because when they look for him based on heat source, that's when it's every car has ice in the trunk, and you can put a body in each one of the trunks.
When did they have time to set that up, Lloyd? When they not only had ice in the trunks, there's 25 bags of gas station ice in every trunk.
Yeah, each trunk.
They also had Van Damme looking at the truck when they were cutting out the tracker. So this all had to happen within, 8 miles, is your typical horizon distance on sea. So, that had to all happen within 5 minutes.
8 miles. Huh? I just learned something new.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's always good to be on a show with G.I. Gary.
I know.
Yeah. So this is a quick, easy way to get rid of a lot of the Universal soldiers. And this is what happens. He sets up a incendiary device, blows them up. We do get a kind of a cool scene where the head, the Ed Ross character is put them out. And I think he says at one point, these are $2 million a piece. And I do like that scene a lot, because some of them are just burned up really bad. And I think the Ralph Muller one is walking around on fire. He doesn't know what to do. And then this is kind of where the Andrew Scott character really comes in, because this is where he just says, fuck it, kills the Ed Ross character and says, I'm taking over now. And he kind of gets his guys back on the van, and he takes the medical team hostage. He ends up eventually, we'll get to that. He ends up eventually dispatching these guys as well. he ends up not needing any of them. We do have to talk, if we miss anything in this movie, which is fine, we don't always hit every scene. We got to talk about the diner. All right. Because we end up at a diner and they're starting to formulate like they have the Ally Walker character there because she's a journalist and she is smart enough. She gets some of the paperwork from the Unisol program. She starts to put it all together. We got to go see this doctor. So we got to go see Jerry Orbach. But they're at a diner. Let's eat. Let's have some lunch. Right.
Right.
So she says, I'm going to go make a phone call.
Hold on. Just a quick phone call.
Quick phone call. And in that period of the quick phone calls time,
it is definitely a female's quick call.
Yeah, right. True. Before the actual phone call, they order 2 specials. All right. They don't say what the special is. I know there's mashed potatoes and a bun involved.
Yeah.
But in the time she makes a quick phone call, the Van Damme character has eaten 19 of these specials. He hasn't eaten in 25 years. I don't know if he has to eat because he's a zombie.
But he likes eating.
But he likes eating.
He really loves it. Yeah.
Likes these specials. He sees an old guy eating mashed potatoes and he learns from him that way, eat mashed potatoes, and then he eats the bun. Now, I'm going to ask you, Lloyd, do you think that the waitress was an asshole because of the fact that she waited till she served them 19 meals to ask if they could pay? Why wouldn't she say after like the 4th one, go, can you pay for this? She brings them like 19 fucking meals. And then goes, can you pay?
And Allie or Veronica is not even there, so she hasn't even eaten her meal yet.
Right.
But he calls him out for, not being able to pay. He doesn't even answer. He just looks at her. He just got some more mashed potatoes in his mouth. Are you going to pay?
This
and then she just calls for Hank in the back. Hank! What do you call him?
Yeah, he comes out, and I don't remember what he says, but he's like,
he said we got a name. We got a deadbeat. Yeah. Yeah.
I worked all day on this slop.
On this slop. Why would you call your own food slop?
Yeah.
When clearly it's like good food. Everyone likes it. Yeah.
Easily one of my favorite Van Damme acting scenes ever because he just looks like a little kid in the whole thing.
He does.
He looks confused.
He actually gets a smile during this scene.
He smiles, right? He burps at one point, right? I think. But of course, in the interim, he fights off like an entire diner's worth of rednecks.
Yeah.
Who again, in typical movie fashion, I get it, right? This is your home diner. This asshole just ordered 19, ain't paying. Maybe you might go in and rough him up. But Gary, let me ask you a question. Your home diner, right? You're protective of the owner and his wife waitress. You like them a lot. How many guys have to get decimated before you go, I'm not fucking with this dude? Mm-hmm. For me, I'm going to tell you right now, for me, even if I felt like Van Damme needed an ass kicking, I see him beat the shit out of 2 guys like he did, and I'm like, well, it's on them. Call the cops or something. I'm gonna go back and finish my meal.
First guy gets kicked. Yeah, hold on, 911. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we get that. It's kind of a humorous scene. They leave there.
I like the end when he's just eating the popcorn, and she just looks at him. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm eating popcorn." And he's just happy.
And then he goes, like he does a sigh. I would have liked to see,
like Gary said, such a happy look on his face when it's over.
A big fart would have been nice at the end of that scene. So they're going to go see the Jerry Orbach character, and he just basically they get there and he tells them the story of the Unisol program and how he was a part of it and all of that. Now on the other side of things, Andrew Scott is now in command of the command vehicle. He has killed the scientists who were trying to trick him and kind of like subdue him.
Yeah.
But he's also taken all the steroids, Gary, right? Like he is now, it's not a fair fight anymore because Van Damme doesn't have a connection to any of this stuff anymore. And Dolph Lundgren has essentially just like, he's injected it all into his dick hole, right into his fucking, right into his testicles. He is now the strongest Unisol in the world. I can't remember what happens.
It might be the only one left beside Van Damme. The other one's all burned up.
Because we kind of skipped the scene where he dispatches the scientists. There was one left. Remember and the scientist goes, "Hold on to this grenade. This is Scott's order." That was the last one.
Another dumb scene.
Right. So yeah, he tells the the Ralph Mueller one or one of the big guys to hold on to this grenade. It's Scott's order. Blows up those guys, and then the next scene, which is I think a pretty good scene, is Scott dragging like Tiny Lister and the other guy through this like fucking like mom and pop grocery store. The best scene is when he's like, "Where's your freezer?" And it's like a 15-year-old kid pricing shit, and he's like, just points.
Right.
So
and it had all kinds of meat, just like from Rocky.
Yeah,
just hanging back there. Yeah,
he throws them in there, and then
he does a little boom, boom, boom on them.
Yeah, he comes out and he basically just starts like, telling people like, we're looking for traitors, like much like the guys that fight Van Damme in the diner. There's 2 sad sack fucking grocery store security guards that get shot right in the head. Like when they try to overtake him, like don't overtake Dolph Lundgren. He's obviously crazy. He's 6'9". He's a kung fu fucking, he's a kickboxing expert. Don't try to overtake this guy. Let's jump ahead a little bit more. He finds them eventually. But kind of the way he finds them is after they go and see Jerry Orbach, they decide, well, we're gonna split ways. I'm gonna go back to my family's farm and essentially die. Like, I want to go back and see my parents one last time. And she's just gonna go off her way. They get caught by the fucking, I don't know if it's the LAPD or what, but like a huge amount of police.
Every cop in like
the
2 states is right there.
Yeah, finds them and is going to take care of them. So they end up on a prison bus.
Up until now, it seems like Devereaux has no understanding of humanity at all.
Right.
He doesn't even know he's supposed to have a dick.
Yeah, no, yeah. He knows
right?
about his dick.
And then all of a sudden, he's telling her, that, oh, this is what you need. You need this story. I bought you a ticket to go on the bus. All of a sudden, he's like a well-rounded human being.
I think they should have done it. They could have done a better job explaining that as time has gone on. He's starting to gain more and more of himself back, but they don't. They literally go from, you're right. He doesn't know what his dick is. He eats 20 meals without knowing how to pay for them. And then he's like, he's buying her a Hallmark card for fucking Arbor.
You got it. Exactly.
For Arbor Day. He's like,
Arbor Day.
I was thinking about you on this Arbor Day.
Flag Day. I'm so mad I missed Flag Day.
I missed Flag Day. So we got a pretty good action scene, right? The prison bus. Although I have one thing I have to ask you guys. Lloyd, I'm going to ask you this. So they're in the prison bus, and then Andrew Scott and the Ralph Moeller character are the only 2 left. They're chasing after the prison bus, like on this, like fucking, like on the planes, and they're ramming the bus with they eventually pull up to the side of it and kill the driver.
Yep.
The prison bus drives for another 10 fucking minutes.
I was going to bring the same thing up. How the fuck did that guy keep accelerating for 10 more minutes? And not steer, like you would think. Right. Here's my thought process. Not steer off the fucking canyon walls that are like 10 feet to the right. Or even, okay, so I'm in a prison bus. The driver gets shot. I figure in my mind, I've got a good 45 seconds before his body weight hits the wheel to a certain degree where we just flip. We're going to flip. 10 fucking minutes of chase, it seems like. And he is maintaining speed, accelerating, steer. He's Weekend swerving a little bit, but like Weekend at Bernie's. Like Weekend at Bernie's. I was hoping to see Van Damme on one side and Ali Walker on the other side with fucking broom handles, like a pulley, yeah, and like pulling his arms, and like one of them's working his foot. Oh my god, yeah, but. So as Van Damme is attempting to, I think, get into the driver's seat, the Sergeant Scott character tosses a couple of grenades into the bus, Gary. But what happened to Gary? This is a question I have to ask because my wife was watching this with me, and she said, "Boy, it seems like these grenades are taking a long time to go off." Yeah, Gary, in a standard military operating grenade, when the pin is pulled and the spoon comes off, what do we have?
It's supposed to be, and it also depends on the grenade, but typically it's 8 seconds.
Oh, Lloyd knew that.
So, yeah, I don't know what these are, but and then Veronica's inside the bus, and she's handcuffed, but although she does, her shackles aren't like this, she's actually got a chain between them, but she's able to pick them up one by one and toss them back out the window.
Very good aim to,
very good
bus driving, bumping, bouncing around to get him out that little tiny hole that they were able to get thrown in. Yeah. She's MVP right there.
Meanwhile, at the end of the film, I'll skip ahead a little bit. he throws a grenade at her that mirrors the scene of him throwing the grenade at the Vietnamese woman, and it blows up.
Except
in
this
the
time
air.
he throws it, like Raleigh Fingers would throw a ball.
Oh yeah. He does
not like a lob.
Yeah, but it blows up immediately. So this is some severe plot armor, which again, fine. I'm not going to fight off a Van Damme movie with like this kind of ridiculousness. But holy cow. Did
I just say Raleigh Fingers?
You did say Raleigh Fingers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Traded to the Cincinnati Reds at the end of his career and never played again because he would not shave his mustache off because of the Reds no mustache, no beard, hair. No facial hair rule. So let's move ahead a little bit. They eventually get away. The command center and the bus go off the side of a cliff, and they think
that was a good scene. I liked that scene. I don't know how they shot it, but
I like that the whole chase. I enjoyed the whole chase. Yeah. So they're convinced, okay, he's dead. They take one of the police cars. Another question I have is, how do you drive? Like, I think they're supposed to be in like California, and they drive a stolen police car all the way to Louisiana to his Cajun home. Don't you think someone would have eventually called that in, like, or someone's looking for it? I just thought that was kind of funny because that's like a 5-day drive, probably 4-day drive.
They were in Arizona, right?
Yeah, I think so.
So
yeah.
Arizona to Louisiana, that's a long trip.
It's not like us. It's not like us to the middle of Massachusetts.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that if you, me, and Gary got into a stolen police car right now and tried to get to Massachusetts, we'd get stopped probably in Hartford.
Right.
But these fuckers got to cross the country. They get back and they reunite with Van Damme's parents, Rance Howard, the great Rance Howard, Ron Howard's father. Now, as I said earlier, there was another thing in the original script that was different. And in the original script, the difference was that these people were not his parents. It was some kind of like ploy by the people behind the Unisol program to get him to come home. And then they come in to capture him. And they actually, in that version of the ending, they shoot Devereaux and he dies. He dies of his wounds. And the Jerry Orbach character, who is bad in that version, gets taken away and exposed for the Unisol program. So that was all different. They changed all that. What we end up getting in this is he goes back home, she's going to leave, and then of course Gary, who's still alive and who somehow has walked all the way to Louisiana.
Right. Even after going over a cliff.
Yeah. Scott's back. Yeah. Scott's back. And we know what this is leading up to, right? We know what this is leading up to. There's got to be a big fight. Scott takes Veronica hostage, and Luke comes downstairs. He hears some tea boiling. His parents are gone, and all of a sudden he gets accosted by Scott. And we get our final, 10-minute or so cat and mouse little battle here. Now, I will say this, Lloyd, me and you did the Time Cop episode. This is so much better.
100%.
We said it on the Time Cop episode. It was too dark, a lot of stuff going on, and there was no real true foil for Van Damme to fight in that. Like there wasn't there was no big mark. It was Ron fucking Silver. It was Wrong Silver, right?
Wrong Silver,
right? Wrong Silver. God rest his soul, is not like the guy you want to see go up against Van Damme, but Dolph Lundgren is, and we get a really good fight that starts in the cabin.
It's a good fight,
and fucking Lundgren's character is all fucking mega hyped up. Remember, he stuck that needle in his dick and fucking gave himself fucking super strength
right up the dick hole.
Yeah, well, during the fight, he also takes another shot.
Right.
That's right. He does.
He does. So he's super. What do they call that in Dragon Ball Z? Super
Saiyan.
Super Saiyan. He's Super Saiyan, and Van Damme is just like, he's impressive Van Damme, but he's regular Van Damme. A lot of good stuff. They're throwing each other around. They're tossing each other, through walls and shit. Eventually, they end up outside. And it becomes very much like. It looks like they're in the same setting, right, Gary? It was almost like Vietnam, 1969. Eventually, Veronica
in the horse barn or something.
They were in a horse barn at one point. They end up outside. We see Veronica's tied up and gagged. She eventually gets away, and very much like the beginning, as we said before, it's mirrored. Is that Scott throws the grenade, apparently blows her up, right?
Well, no body. To me, that's whenever I see something like this in an action movie, no body. You don't know yet. Oh, a doctor walks over and pronounces them dead. They're still alive.
Mm-hmm.
The tide turns, though, in the fight, and Van Damme suddenly gets all Van Damme on him, right? And we get some great like Van Damme.
I mean,
kicks.
Van Damme normally is like Universal Soldier light.
Right. But he kind of gets his mojo back, and he starts doing fucking spin kicks.
Yeah.
Lloyd, what is the final implement of the demise of Sergeant Andrew Scott? What piece of fucking farming equipment takes this guy right the fuck out?
Well, first of all, they have that fight in the barn, and he does grab. So while they're fighting, he grabs a syringe off of Scott. And then Scott throws him, and he loses track of it, but he's able to get it, stab it in his own dick.
Right, I forgot he stabbed himself in the dick. Yeah.
So he stabs himself in his own dick, and then he gets the universal powers, and then he just starts going at it against Scott. Punch him in the face, kicking him there. He kicks him all the way across, gets him up against the side of the wall, and then does a running. I don't know what you call this maneuver, but a running kick.
It's like a drop kick almost.
A drop kick where you lift your whole body off the ground and you kick somebody in the face. And Dolph Lundgren goes flying through the wall, but Van Damme doesn't. He just somehow is able to stop his momentum and not go through the wall. But then he kicks him a few times into this shredder.
Yeah, that thing's nasty.
It's like a spiky shredder. I mean, I'm not sure what you're shredding with that. I guess crops,
horses. But
it just looks like two big rollers with massive spikes that go across each other, and he gets them right on that fucking shredder. Hand on one, I think one goes through his shoulder, one goes through like a neck. Yeah, he's severely impaled on that.
Hits the button, and fucking we see him getting shot out of the hopper.
Right, but he comes back, like he grabs Van Damme at one point still. Right. Even though he's on the shredder, he grabs him, starts pulling him in, and because he's Van Damme and he's super soldier, he gets away.
Yeah, if you didn't know that, Lloyd, from my time growing up on a farm, that's why it was right next to the horse barn.
Yeah,
because when a horse
shredding horses,
when a horse dies, the kid comes in and goes, "Pa, Blackbird died this morning," and then Pa goes, "Better get him set up on the shredder, Jimmy."
It's glue making time.
It's glue making time, Jimmy. Hey, Jimmy, you like Jello? So yeah, that's a horse shredding machine. So yeah, that's pretty much it. He goes over and his parents are okay; they're fine. He finds Victoria. She has Veronica. She has not been blown to pieces. She's okay.
She just needs a little nudge, and then she's fine.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How's your father? She says to him, we got to have the Van Damme like one-liner moment, and she says, "Where's Scott?" And he goes, "Around."
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
Another bunch of bad lines that they don't work for Van Damme.
Right.
Yeah,
that's it. That's Universal Soldier from 1992. A fun movie, but we'll talk about that in a second. Manster, let's get into the box office of this film.
So I'm talking about fractions of a penny here, and over time, they add up to a lot.
So we have a budget of $23 million for this film. $23 million, 1992, not too bad. Opening weekend, $10 million. So they're pretty sure they got a hit on their hands for that.
I saw this in the theaters. I saw
you
this
did.
One. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Domestic, $36 million. International, $59 for a total worldwide of $95 million. So 23 to 95, that's pretty good. For the weekend of July 10th, two other movies were in their first week of release, A Prelude to a Kiss and Cool World. They came in 6 and 7. Universal Soldier that week came in number 2 at $10 million. We also had number 5, Sister Act. Number 4, Batman Returns. Number 3, Boomerang. Number 1, A League of Their Own. I know it's not your favorite film, but
I don't dislike it. I hate Lori Petty.
I know you hate Lori Petty. How about you, Gary? You like Lori Petty?
I don't mind Lori Petty.
Yeah, I don't mind her either.
I hate her.
Yeah. So for 1992, the year, I'll just do the top 10 and then tell you where Universal Soldier came in. League of Their Own, number 10. Basic Instinct, number 9. Wayne's World, 8. The Bodyguard, 7. Sister Act, 6. A Few Good Men, number 5. Lethal Weapon, number 3. Batman Return. Lethal Weapon 3, number 4. Batman Returns, number 3. Home Alone 2. Lost in New York at number 2. And Aladdin, number 1 that year.
A Whole New World.
Yeah.
Gary, you want to join me on this?
No.
I don't really consider that a really good year for movies.
Batman Returns is a great movie. Lethal Weapon 3 is kind of weak.
A Few Good Men is pretty good.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Can't handle the truth. Universal Soldier came in number 40.
Yeah, it
Seems
makes
about
sense.
right for Van Damme.
Yep.
Yeah. This is definitely, again, like we said, Time Cop was kind of towards the end of his theatrical like run before he started doing a lot of like direct-to-video stuff. This is probably like the meat, like right here is probably right where he was at.
Yeah, he's still a rising star.
Yeah, kind of just getting to like his highest popularity. Street Fighter coming up was pretty popular, even though people say it wasn't very good, and a few other things in between.
Did you ever see the alternate ending to this?
No.
I guess there's a special edition DVD with an alternate ending, and I don't even want to get into it. It's too long to even explain, but I was just wondering if you saw it or not.
Is it the one where they said he opts to basically just like live out his life and he dies of natural causes because he can't live without that medicine or anything? Yeah, I did read that. that. Yep.
It's not even worth really explaining.
It's not, because you have to kind of assume that's going to happen in this movie. And this isn't the kind of movie that you want to end on a downer. Like, he beats the bad guy, he saves the day, and then he dies of natural causes.
Yeah.
At like 20. And the other thing they said, I do want to laugh at though, she says to him at one point, you look great for 50, which means he was 25 when he died.
Right.
He was not 25 at any point in this movie.
Never.
Clearly 35 at the earliest, I would say. I don't know what year he was born, and we talked about it in the last episode. It was in the 50s. So he was clearly 35.
Mm-hmm.
He certainly was not 25 at any point.
And the Unisol's basic sidearm basically was 357 Magnum Desert Eagle, which is always my favorite weapon of choice in any shooting games that was available.
Gary, how do you feel about the sidearm?
It's fine. It's a little small in caliber, but
it was good in Resident Evil.
Well, you're taking down zombies. You don't need to.
Yeah, it's taking down zombies. It was always good. I like that one.
Gary's a G.I. Joe guy. He likes his guns to shoot lasers.
and one thing I wanted to mention was when they went over the canyon wall, right? And Veronica and Devereaux live. And then the cop comes and arrests them, right? And they're on their knees on the ground. And she fucking knocks that cop out, somehow handcuffed and on her knees.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she had 3 brothers.
Yeah, she had 3 brothers.
She does explain that. I'm a roughhouser.
Yes.
All right, let's rate this thing.
Don't judge me, monkey.
All right, I'll go first this time. I own this. I have the DVD. I do my Letterboxd. I keep track of all my movies since the beginning of 2020, and I watched this, I think, in 2020 at some point. I enjoy this movie. I like the concept a lot. It's a sci-fi concept, but it's not a sci-fi movie. It's essentially, like a fucking action film, a military film, a hand-to-hand combat film, but it's got a cool idea behind it. Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren, they don't have to. They're against each other, so it's not like a case of like they're great together. And again, this is Vandanuary, so we're celebrating the man. But like honestly, I so much prefer Lundgren's performance in this. He's very menacing. That's a dude I would not fuck with, and I really liked him in the bad guy role. And again, think about it. When you really think about it, no matter what, Lundgren came into the pop culture zeitgeist in a bad guy role, Ivan Drago. So it's kind of cool to see him go back to that, because remember, in between this and that, he was He-Man, the ultimate hero.
That's cinema classic.
Yeah, this movie takes a while to kind of really get going with anything in terms of, the beginning is interesting, how they kill each other and how they end up in their predicament. And then it kind of, becomes a chase movie for a while. But it doesn't forget to intersperse some cool little action moments, even if they're not super exciting. But when you're talking about a Van Damme movie, you kind of almost got to look at the end as the totality, the final fight. And as opposed to Time Cop, which was a cool concept movie with a turd ending, this has a great fucking final fight. These guys just fucking whip the shit out of each other. It's very cool that they're supposed to be like super enhanced, and their fighting styles are both pretty cool. I'm going to give this a solid 3.25. This is not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's comforting to me. I enjoy it. It's a cool concept. And let's not, we didn't mention this before, but like 5 sequels have been spawned from this, even though they were all pretty much like direct to video. I put up our Patreon vote for what Vandanuary episode we would do on Patreon if we have the time to do it. And I had 2 or 3 write-ins for some of the sequels to this, like Universal Soldier Day of Reckoning. Like, who the fuck saw that? Well, someone did.
Wow.
I think either Joe Doherty or Eric Shenebrow, one of those guys, wrote that in. And I'm like, okay, so I guess there's I don't know if I've ever seen any of the sequels. So maybe this year I'll start looking into them. That said, 3.25. Let's go to the Manster. Manster, what did you think?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, I really haven't seen a lot of these Van Damme movies. So the only thing I have for comparison's sake, not that the reason for this is comparison, but is Time Cop. So this has plot holes galore. You could drive a freaking mini guppy, or you could fly a mini guppy through the plot holes, which is that big ass transport plane in the beginning. Anyway, Lundgren is a much more interesting character by far. It's all brawn, really no brains. But if you like that alpha male style of fighting, that's for you. It's got cringy dialogue. There's lots of stuff being blown up, lots of muscle flexing. It's a cockfight at the end. So you're absolutely right. It's way better than Time Cop in that perspective. It delivers a lot more humor and less garbage plot twists than Time Cop. And it's entertaining and it's fun. I'm not going to give it a super high score because I'm hoping to leave some room for higher scores. So I'm going to give this a 2.75 out of 5.
All right, fair. Gary, you know the rules. 0 to 5, 0 being the worst, 5 being the best, quarter and half scale usable. But before you say that, Gary, tell everybody out there all about the Pint's Little Brother podcast that you run, what it's about, and what you have coming up.
Well, my podcast is the Chaplain's Assistant's Motor Pod, the strange but not as strange nerdy little brother to the Pint. And we talk, or basically I talk, all about G.I. Joe, whether it's current events or covering the latest comic book issues, or just what's going on with my world of collecting and G.I. Joe in particular. And every episode I take a deeper look into a toy, vehicle, or playset from the G.I. Joe line from 1982 to present.
I could truly say, Gary, that if you weren't a friend or a part of the Pint as you are, I would still listen to your show if I heard it a few times.
Thank you.
Yeah, you do a great job as a solo host. You do a much better job than I could ever do. So hard to go
solo.
Yeah, and your show, the sound drops, the music you use, all great stuff. I am regretfully, I think, 2 episodes behind, so I have to catch up. But I love it. It's part of my weekly listening. By the way, I'm behind on all my podcasts, so that's not an affront. That's not offensive to you.
I'm not offended.
So, what did you think, Gary, of Universal Soldier?
Well, I actually thought the budget, it could have used more budget. And I think the cinematography was probably those 2 things were probably my biggest downs on the movie. But other than that, to sum it up, it's a better G.I. Joe movie than the G.I. Joe movies. And I actually really enjoyed this. And because of that, I think everybody really put they're all into it. And I really think I'm going to give it a 3.75.
Oh, nice. Had you ever seen this before?
No, I had not. This is I watched it for the first time this afternoon.
Okay. All right. 3.75. So there's a nice little band there. 275, 325, 375. Yep. All right. So that was Universal Soldier. Now, every episode of the Pint, a Pop Culture podcast, is a co-production between the Pint, aka Lloyd Green, and John Amenta. That's us.
That's us.
And our Pint insiders. Go to Patreon/The Pint, and you can become an insider for $2.50 a month. You can get all kinds of extra episodes. I'll send you stickers. We'll have a good old fucking time. You can help shape the content of the show through polls that I only put on the Patreon. We appreciate all of those folks. We're doing a thing this year where we're mentioning off, hopefully on every episode, a different backer. And one of the ones that I want to talk about tonight is our good dear friend, Isaac Thorne. Isaac is a novelist. He specializes in the horror genre. He has been a supporter of the show since the Pino Comics days with Sir John. We had him on the radio show. We've had him on the podcast one time. Go to Isaac R. Thorne, THORNE.com, And you could check out all of his books, his short story collections, The Gordon Place, his first full-length novel, and his newest novel. I've read The Gordon Place. That's great. I picked up my copy of Hellspring, his newest novel. I have not read it yet, but I have no doubt in it. He is extremely talented. And I don't just say this because he's a backer. I truly believe that. But just got to thank Isaac. Thank you so much for social media.
Shouting us out
all the
telling
time.
people he's listening.
Yeah, being a good friend. And we really love you, Isaac. So IsaacRThorne.com. Check him out. And if you see a picture of him, I always mention this. He looks like Les Claypool from Primus, like kind of with a steampunk goth vibe. At least in his there, he has one like trade picture he uses, like kind of like a industry picture. And I even brought it up to him. I'm like, dude, you look like Les Claypool. Great guy. All right, Manster, where can everybody find The Pint?
You could find the podcast anywhere you get your podcast. Apple, Stitcher, iHeart, whatever you do. Google it, find us. We put out episodes every week. You could subscribe to our YouTube channel on Facebook and YouTube. It's The Pint, a pop culture podcast. On Instagram and Twitter, it's at The Pint Podcast. And of course, become a Pint Insider at www.patreon.com/The Pint.
Gary, give out your socials as well, and then say the words that make this episode end.
Okay, and if you want to explore more G.I. Joe in a nerdy fashion, you can find me at Chaplain Joe Pod, and that's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and even YouTube. See ya.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!